dress to be the specialist, and I try to be a little specialistic, but also try to challenge you a bit and draw safety and security management a bit to your daily line of duty. I wonder, was any one of you worried getting out of bed this morning? Did you realize that you could choke on your first cup of coffee or get ran over by a bus while riding your bike to the train station? I guess not, otherwise it would be a little more empty in this room. This state of mind we call the illusion of personal invulnerability, or the idea that nothing will happen to you. There are people who experience a traumatic event, like a robbery, and they don't have this feeling anymore. They suffer from post-traumatic stress. This illusion is a very useful illusion, but it has also a problem, because our standard reaction on that illusion is downplaying it. These things don't happen around here, or making a good joke about it. Everybody laughs. It releases the subconscious tension, and we go on with business as usual. But there's also a problem when your safety or security specialist want to address an urgent matter to you, because there's a chance you will react in quite the same way. In this presentation, I want to make clear to you why we do it, what we do, how do we do it, and what are the benefits of doing it, hazard risk management or safety and security. I hope I'll make it a little more clear to you afterwards. It's a little abstract, but also a little specialistic, like I mentioned. This picture, is this a risk? I don't know. I have to see the complete picture. I don't know where the bottom is of that picture, because when the ground is nearby, it's no risk at all. It's only a shortcut. Imagine some of you and me are at the edge of a deep and steep ravine. Then I blindfold you and I ask you to walk as close to the edge as you dare. Me, myself, wear no blindfold and I walk right to the edge. I think you will take 2 or 3 steps at the most, and then you think, it's okay with me, I don't see anything, I won't go to the edge any further. Then I'll ask you, take off your blindfold and tell me the risk of throwing a rock over the edge. I myself can look down, I see a river, a little village, a train station, so I will dare to throw that rock. I know exactly where to throw it and what will happen. But you're standing a lot farther from the edge, you will probably only see the mountain at the other side of the ravine. And I think you will not dare to throw the rock down there. And if you do, you don't know what's happening. What I want to make clear with this is that when you want to handle risk in a responsible way, you have to have a thorough knowledge about risk. The fundament of risk management, I think, is awareness, awareness, and awareness. But when there's no sense of urgency next to that awareness, nothing will happen. The next step we knew, because the illusion that I mentioned before will prevent us from taking action. The next step we need in hazard risk management is the tone at the top. It's mentioned before. Because without your support, as you are sitting here, hazard risk management or safety and security will be undervalued, and the right combination will be lost. Perhaps you think it's not a big deal because you think you're in control. We heard stories of several chairmen who said, we have measurements in place for that reason. But if you're confronted with the suffering and the loss of an incident, I think you agree with me that hazard risk management should be a part of generic governance in an organization. When enterprise risk management was introduced in Europe, it was considered to be about governance, finance, and compliance. Because of this, safety and security management, hazard risk management, is often addressed as an operational issue, even though history shows us that it's far more comprehensive. The assumption that safety and security won't influence our strategic goals is a misconception. Like we experienced at Delft University. 90% of the insurance portfolio, which is a part of financial management, concerns safety and security incidents. A lot of people don't realize that. When we also realize that 80% of the organizations who had a fire went bankrupt, it becomes clear that dealing with hazard risk is an essential part of universal risk management. Securing an educational institution is a complex matter. I think you know that better than anyone in the rest of the world. Openness, it was mentioned before, is an important requirement. But even higher education institutions have to realize that the world around us is changing. And we might have to deal with a higher level of threat every day. And also we have to respond on that. Strengthening the security of a building doesn't keep a university attractive and safe. University need an open attitude, freedom of thought, speed, and most actions. It's mentioned before. These rights should be available for everybody and protected for everybody. We like to see higher education institutions as a community where every member is equally responsible for safety and security. We ourselves like to use our circle of 25 for that. What is our circle of 25? That's the virtual circle that surrounds everybody of us, also you, within your working environment and perhaps in the future at home too. Within this circle of 25, we are responsible for safety and security by helping people in our immediate vicinity, like picking somebody up who falls down, comforting somebody who cries, or call the police when a crime does occur. How do we do this? When we look at specialists in safety and security, we see that security guards, cybersecurity specialists, and health safety environment specialists often regard each other with some competition. I've had the luxury of working in all these areas, and it struck me that they all have the same cycle in approaching risks. But where does this attitude come from then? Perhaps it's caused by the seemingly conflicting interest that caused by the paradox that you can't protect people and organizations at the same time. But we believe you can, and at the same time perform better and more efficient for research and education. How can we practice this in an effective way? A growing number of universities is rather seeing hazard risk management as a domain than as a department. Only working together with the departments in safety and security, we can achieve a good way to handle risk, I believe. Roughly, the three subjects of safety and security are joined together with hazard risk governance for guidance. In this picture, you see three subjects that traverse this new domain because each domain can find its origin in each of the separate subdomains. It's pictured this way. This is about our everyday life, everyday business and everyday life, where we hardly care about risk at all. Sometimes we talk about risk. When we talk about risk with specialists, after some time, everything becomes dangerous. It's very important to look at risk from the main goals of your organization, and finding the right balance between safety and security will be an important issue at that. Specialists from the old school often tell us that we must fear law and we must fear our conscience, dealing with safety and security. But since hazard risk is addressed as a static risk, which means it can provide only loss, it's time to turn this around and look at safety and security in another way. And besides finding, of course, a right balance in safety and security in the measurements we take, we can even use hazard risk as a dynamic risk, which can provide either loss or gain. For this, we need participation of you, of employees, of students, and get used to dealing with safety and security just as what we would do with finance. Everybody does finance in an organization. We all do something on that subject. But when there's a complex matter, we call in the specialists from the finance department, and they'll do finance, they'll solve our difficult problems for us. On this slide, which was a very complicated slide, and it will be after I handled it, I will elaborate a little more to show you there's a functional system to make it work also in your organization. It doesn't have to be complicated. You have to get the hang of it before you can see through it. There was a Dutch football player who also said things like this, but they were true. These are the obvious stakeholders, the board and the hazard risk department, and they want to create a risk and opportunity profile. I especially say opportunity profile because the other side of risk is opportunity. Perhaps we have to think about that too, because we can get it aligned with your organizational goals. There are key stakeholders in hazard risk management: facility management for security, human resources for labor safety, and ICT for cybersecurity. They provide the historical information about the incidents that happened before. But that's not enough to create a risk profile that's fit for the future. We also need to benchmark to validate that information. And the last, in this sequence, most difficult but also most important step is future prognosis. We look at our university, we look at our campus, we look at society, and we see what happens there. And we want to scale this information in relation to the other information we already gained. This is the basis for our risk and opportunity profile. But we have to inventarize our assets and analyze them, because a fire in an old shed is something different than a fire in a research lab. This information comes from the center of our hazard risk management system, which is the faculty. With this information, we can decide if we want to audit a subject a little more, or we want to make a mitigating program for the risk, or just to accept the risk. This information is provided to the board, and they can decide about their risk preparedness, how much risk they would like to take for the main process. The next step is implementation. On strategic level, we do this with risk and audit coordination. On tactical level, we do this with the Hazard Risk Board. Within the University of Delft, there's a Hazard Risk Board, and I'm the chairman of the Hazard Risk Board. And on operational level, which again is the center of the system, we do the platform of hazard risk management, where again, the health, safety and environment specialist, the cybersecurity specialist, and the security specialist are joined together. Together they provide the information which is needed to start up the cycle all over again. The information that's gained from the audit programs and the assessments will be fed back into the system, and to help our faculties to run this program, we made a hazard risk manual. So you listen to my speech about hazard risk management, but what do you gain besides creating a better world, in my opinion? It reduces costs. It enhances your knowledge, enables research, It eases decision making because when you have your risk profile and you have your risk readiness, your risk preparedness, I think it should be 5 minutes every day that you consider that how you should deal with the decisions you make that day. And it takes only 5 minutes to look at the profile to realize if you should take action or just accept it. It provides an advantage for your organization. Perhaps you can start risky but promising research projects. Perhaps you can show, of course you can show, preparedness and control of incidents. You can save some money on insurance, and perhaps you can find an innovating way to deal with security in higher education and keep it inviting. Thank you for your attention.